Welcome back to Watch the Bookerman and to episode number 116 of Paul Heyman's TNA, and we open the post-Turning Point Impact with an incredible match, really surprised by the rating for this, between Claudio Castagnoli and Desmond Wolfe. Wolfe determined and focused off the back of his defeat to CM Punk in the Ring of Honor World Championship match, and he looks to have the match in the bag when, as he's setting up for the Jawbreaker Lariat, Austin Aries comes out and pulls him out of the ring, drags him to the outside, tosses him into the steel steps, and is just laying into him. Of course, the referee has no choice but to call for the bell. Claudio only getting a 73 there, while Desmond gets an 81, but coming out at an 87, possibly because of the heat to the storyline. Their chemistry also obviously helping, but what a way to start the 3-week build to Final Resolution, and we set a very high bar for the rest of the show, including our main event between AJ Styles and Claudio Castagnoli's tag team partner, Chris Hero. After the match, as we said, Austin Aries continues to lay into Desmond Wolfe, and Bryan Danielson comes out to save the guy who's had his back recently. We know these two were previously bitter rivals, but there has been some level of respect between Wolfe and Danielson, and this is basically Bryan repaying the favour to Desmond Wolfe, who has helped him in recent weeks. Aries orders Claudio to leave the ring and deal with Danielson so he can continue to beat down Desmond Wolfe, but Castagnoli just keeps walking up the ramp as he cross paths with Bryan Danielson. Danielson himself is expecting a brawl with Castagnoli, but he's not interested. Aries doesn't realise what's going on until Bryan shoves him away, Austin then backing off as Bryan Danielson checks on Desmond Wolfe. Further evidence of this positive relationship between Danielson and Wolfe, and the commentators suggest that Austin Aries is far from done with his attempts to take out every single member of Team Angle from TNA. He's already put Kurt Angle out for a very long time. Obviously at the pay-per-view he defeated Jeff Hardy with the help of his New Age of Honor stablemates, and now he's going after basically the only member of that group that's remaining, Desmond Wolfe. That's why he came out and attacked him during the match, but Danielson coming to the aid and ensuring that Aries doesn't get everything his own way. We then get an interview with AJ Styles in the back. He's speaking with Jeremy Borash ahead of his match against Chris Hero, as we said, in tonight's main event. On Sunday, AJ defeated Bryan Danielson, meaning that he will face CM Punk at Final Resolution with both the ROH and TNA World Heavyweight Championships on the line. Styles says that Chris Hero is just the first of many bodies that he sees CM Punk throwing at him before the final battle, and AJ is ready for anything. He's faced Chris Hero back in January, and they went to a 20-minute time limit draw, so he knows how good of a wrestler Chris Hero is, and more importantly, how hard he hits. But that's not going to be a deterrent tonight. He's looking forward to that match, as he said. Coming in from the side, as JB's asking another question, Paul Heyman walks onto the set and he tells AJ that he needs to talk to him about his announcement later. He wants the champ to be the first to know what's going on, and he asks AJ to follow him to the office. Styles, who has nothing but disdain for Paul Heyman at this point, says that if it involves Heyman, he simply doesn't want to know. He walks off in the opposite direction as JB sends back to ringside. We go into our second match after a couple of good segments, and it's a good, solid knockouts match. Alyssa Flash defeating Madison Rayne, a follow-up from something from the Knockouts Thanksgiving Battle Royal on last week's show. Alyssa Flash won that, earning herself a future title shot. Madison Rayne took issue to this, but she can have no complaints tonight as she is cleanly defeated with a flash driver from Alyssa Flash. After taking a moment to recuperate following the win, Alyssa Flash requests a microphone from ringside. Flash says that anybody who has been following her for this last year knows she has a lot of history with Tara, and in her mind, that is unfinished business. Final Resolution is the perfect opportunity for her to take on Tara one last time, and since she won the Thanksgiving Battle Royal last week, she has that title shot in her back pocket. In 3 weeks at Final Resolution, her final battle with Tara will take place, and she's looking to take the Knockouts Championship. I kept this off script because I wanted to see how Alyssa Flash would do, and she's done very well. A 70 rating is fantastic. Flash looking towards the title, but of course after how Mickey was screwed at Turning Point, she's not going to be moving on from Tara just yet. In the back, we then see a fired up Austin Aries, and he's not happy about events from earlier in the night. He accuses Bryan Danielson of sticking his nose where it does not belong. If he didn't have so much on his plate, he'd happily deal with Bryan Danielson anytime and any place. He'd go and find him right now and beat the hell out of him, but he's a little busy with Team Angle's Desmond Wolfe. However, Austin says he's got a lot of friends who he knows would be happy to step up and do him a favour, and his buddy Tyler Black is going to deal with Danielson next week, so setting up a huge one-on-one match between Bryan Danielson and Tyler Black next week. But as we know, there is some tension between Austin Aries and Tyler Black, so I guess we'll have to wait and see what his reaction to that is. The third match of the night sees the X Division champion Kevin Steen defeat Amazing Red in 11 minutes and 38 by pinfall. He pokes an eye, low blow. Basically, I want Kevin Steen to, even if he doesn't have to, he takes the low road, hits the package pile driver and defeats Amazing Red. This is revisiting a rivalry that they had earlier in the year. Kevin Steen came out on top in that, and he comes out on top again. We have got something going on with that Amazing Red at the minute, but I just thought he would be somebody who would match up well with Kevin Steen in the ring and produce a really good X Division match to end the hour. Kevin Steen's celebration is cut short following the bell, however, as a fired up El Generico is straight out after the match. There is no sign that he is moving on from this rivalry. He speeds down to the ring, taking down Paul London in the process. There is nothing that could possibly stop him at the moment. Steen looks to preempt the attack, meeting El Generico at the bottom of the ramp, the two men brawling back and forth and fighting towards the top of the stage. El Generico is initially overpowered, but fights back with that dogged determination that we're used to seeing from him. The two men brawl dangerously close to the edge of the stage, teetering on the edge, with El Generico ducking a shot from Kevin Steen and hitting a Blue Thunder bomb, which sends both men crashing from the stage to the ground below. Upon impact, we hear a huge crash and neither man moves a muscle. They're both out, medical staff rushing to a scene. Willing to damage himself in pursuit of Kevin Steen and the X Division title, the commentators put over how personal this rivalry is for El Generico. They suggest that a final battle between the two may be the only way to find a resolution to this situation, and we just wanted to come straight off the triple threat of the pay-per-view, making it clear that Steen's not going to be moving on to somebody else. El Generico still has a bone to pick with him. Steen has cheated on multiple occasions. He cheated to win the title, he cheated to retain it, and El Generico isn't going to let it lie. And with final resolution, final battle coming up, you'd have to expect that would be the perfect place for those to face off once more. We open the second hour with Gail Kim defeating Daisy Hayes, another thing following up from the pay-per-view, and that's what I like to do generally on post-pay-per-view episodes. We have the people who came out on top, Gail Kim in this case, or not even necessarily who came out on top, because of course the first match of the night was Desmond Wolfe, but if we have somebody we want to tell a story for, we'll put them out there in the ring after the pay-per-view, and it gives the commentators a chance to catch us up on what's going on. Mainly for this one, Gail Kim defeated Sarah Del Rey, but in the process, Kim and Del Rey during the match teamed up to fight off Daisy Hayes and Mischief. Tonight, there is no such assistance needed, as despite Mischief being at ringside, Gail Kim can defeat Daisy Hayes in 6 minutes and 40 with a neat defeat. Gail Kim's performances we can see up to a 63, so progress already made with her, and I really think the sky is the limit for Gail Kim in this Knockouts division. Gail Kim has her arm raised post-match and then indicates that her sights are set on the Knockouts Championship. Having been at ringside with Daisy Hayes, Mischief jumps Gail from behind and lays into her on the mat. Running out from the back, Sarah Del Rey clears the ring of Mischief and Daisy Hayes. They both roll out as soon as they see her on her way to the ring, so she doesn't actually have to do anything. It's just her presence that runs them off. Daisy Hayes and Mischief back up the ramp as a nod of mutual respect is exchanged between Sarah Del Rey and Gail Kim. The storyline does lose heat there, but we're keeping this forward momentum going with Gail Kim and establishing that Sarah Del Rey is now on our babyface side of the roster. The Briscoes then cut a promo from their farm, with Jay Briscoe talking about final resolution, the final battle. They see what's going on with this cross-branding, but they're yet to get the call to be there for that show from Paul Heyman. Jay says that it seems like it's time for them to take things into their own hands, because they need to have a conversation with Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards. The Briscoes feel they have a date with Destiny, and they're coming to Evolve to speak with the American Wolves. The Wolves will be in action on that show, which airs immediately after Impact, and the Briscoes are going to be paying them a visit. Jay Briscoe improvising well, but we do lose heat to the tag team title storyline because they're not quite getting to those levels that we'd hope from them. Of course, there's still time. Brooke then speaks with SoCal Val in the back and is joined by the Amazon, who is part of her backfiring scheme at Turning Point. Brooke tells Val that she accepts full responsibility for what happened on Sunday and she's going to make it right. Angelina Love and Velvet Sky aren't here tonight, but Brooke will be at Evolve to call out the Knockouts Tag Team Champions. Val asks if the Amazon will be joining her out there later. Brooke says she will, but corrects Val on the name of the woman beside her. Brooke says this woman is Lindsay Kay. She won't be referred to as simply the Amazon anymore. That's disrespectful, and Brooke chastises SoCal Val for calling her that before they walk off. A really poor segment, to be fair, but not surprising considering who is involved in it. The fifth match of the night sees Eric Young defeat Consequences Creed in 6 minutes and 42 via pinfall with a pile driver. He does get some assistance, albeit minor assistance, from Scott D'Amore, but the manager, who he has no chemistry with whatsoever, does have a positive effect, and it's a win for Eric Young in his first match since his heel turn and reunion with Team Canada. He makes the comment that he'd be better off without Scott D'Amore as manager. That's something we can easily work around. I'm not too bothered about that. As Eric Young stands tall following this questionable victory, Sonjay Dutt runs down to confront the newest member of Team Canada on Thanksgiving night of all nights. He turned his back on his two best friends and they want answers. Sonjay is stopped in his tracks by Sean Spears and Tyson Dukes, who hold him in position as Scott D'Amore directs traffic on the outside. In the ring, Eric Young rolls Consequences Creed onto the apron, setting him up for a pile driver. Dutt is forced to watch as Creed is dropped on his head by Eric Young, that apron of course being the hardest part of the ring. He then rushes to check on his friend as soon as he is released from Team Canada, who are all delighted with their actions of course, all laughing as they back up the ramp. Eric Young leading this group, and I am just going to deal with the fact that Tyson Dukes incorrectly was set as a face initially, but it doesn't go down well because apparently it's too soon since he was a face. I'm not that bothered because the way he's been booked, his momentum is probably very low anyway. Returning from the break, we lose heat to this storyline unfortunately, but Maro and Taz are set to speak with Christy Hem, who is joining the show via satellite from her home. Of course, she's not going to be involved in any ring announcing after what she did at Turning Point, grabbing the leg of Mickie James, screwing her out of the Knockouts Championship match, and ensuring that Tara retained the title. This has been done for her own safety, of course. The line of questioning towards Christy asks why she did what she did. Hem is emotional and can't really speak. She's struggling to get any words out. After a couple of minutes, we're no clearer as to why she did what she did. As the interview's going nowhere, Mickie James comes out and grabs a microphone. She says that if Christy refuses to explain herself right here and right now, Mickie has a good mind to come round to her good friend's house and see if she can get answers out of her right now. So of course Mickie is furious. She's even more angry that Tara didn't have the guts to show her face tonight. She's the Knockouts champion and she's decided to not show up for work. Mickie knows that she may not be in line for another title shot. Alyssa Flash is the #1 contender, but revenge is definitely on her agenda. The feed to Hem then cuts as she's too upset to continue and Mickie storms off to the back. So a lot of fury inside Mickie James, but with Christy Hem at home and Tara not showing up, there's not much direction for her, so she just has to stomp off angrily to the back. But she's in action on Evolve, so that will help her get some of that frustration out. We then get the main event. Wow. A 96 rated main event. I thought it'd be good, that's why I put it on in the main event, and I know how good Chris Hero is. He gets a 78 and was off his game. So if he wasn't off his game, who knows what that match could have rated. We get the crowd buzzing. AJ Styles defeats him in 16 minutes and 56 with a phenomenal forearm. Says the Styles Clash, but it is the forearm that we're trying to get over because we want it to be the knee of CM Punk versus the forearm of AJ Styles going into this final battle. And I don't know what more you can say. These two are absolutely incredible wrestlers. That's why we're getting such good ratings. Fantastic to see. Advancing our top storyline. No complaints there whatsoever, of course. Although I will just say, if anybody's a little bit worried about the booking of Hero, Castagnoli and Black, maybe people haven't even noticed it, but they have picked up a few more defeats than they usually would recently. Most of the time it's been with good reason, either a DQ or a distraction or something that extends a storyline, but I just want to make sure that nobody's worried about them because the plans that I have for them in 2012 when TNA becomes Impact Wrestling, I think they're going to be bigger than they've ever been. And considering they were probably our top heels for 6 months, I really do mean I've got big plans for this group going forward. Afterwards, as AJ Styles returns to his feet following that extremely grueling, testing, challenging main event, CM Punk comes out to the top of the ramp. It's a 98 rating, so this is going to be a ridiculously good episode of Impact. I'd be very surprised if this isn't the best one yet. Coming down to the 6 sides, Punk goes face to face with his final resolution opponent. both men clearly ready for the final battle. Styles and Punk each raise their titles in the air. As Paul Heyman comes out from the back, nobody is happy to see him, especially the two men in the ring. And once in the sixth side, Heyman tries to speak with Styles off mic, but the TNA World Heavyweight Champion isn't interested. Like he did earlier, he just walks off. Paul then looks to talk with CM Punk, but the ROH World Champion also wants nothing to do with him. Paul Heyman has pretty much isolated himself from 99% of the roster in recent months. The TNA guys aren't happy with how he's handled things. The Ring of Honor guys certainly aren't happy with how he's handled their promotion. Left alone, Paul Heyman says that the only people left to speak to are the fans. He accepts responsibility for the chaos and carnage of the last year, saying that in his desperation to create a buzz, which he undoubtedly did, he lost control of the company. Relationships ruined, injuries, and maybe even some careers ended. He is the one who has to take responsibility for that. 2012 is a fresh start for everybody, and that is why he has made the most difficult decision of his career. He will be stepping down from his position. On the final TNA Impact after Final Resolution, Paul Heyman will say his final goodbyes, and that'll be Paul Heyman gone from the company. So a huge way to end the show, a bombshell announcement, but not delivered in that way, delivered very emotionally, very somberly from Paul Heyman. He had to take the bullet here. He has lost the faith of the locker room, and there's no coming back from that really. You can probably count on one hand the people who still have any trust in this man to run the company. So as a result, he has had to leave his position. A 93 rating. I'm not 100% sure about this, so I am going to go through and check it, but I think that's our best show ever, full stop. We follow up Turning Point and start the build to Final Resolution with a show that tops even our two Bound for Glories, with that final segment following that huge main event. I shouldn't really be surprised. Like I said, I will just double check. And we can see, December 2011, our best show ever. I've been desperate to have a show this year that knocks Bound for Glory 2010 off the top. I thought Bound for Glory 2011 could be that, it wasn't. I even thought that Turning Point could be that, and it wasn't. I was hoping then that AJ Styles versus CM Punk, that huge match that we're building to, would be the one that did it, but actually it's just an Impact in the build to that show. Not going to complain about that at all. Our third best match as well. We'll see if Evolve can follow up that incredible show. And following up that final segment, we see that Paul Heyman returns to the back, head down, and confirming what I said earlier, there is nobody there to greet him. There is nobody who is on Paul Heyman's side anymore, it has to be said. One man is there, Steve Corino. He is opportunistic, he wants the job, he wants to be the man who takes over from Paul Heyman. They've seen how he has organised the New Age of Honor. He can take Impact Wrestling to new heights. Of course, given everything that's gone down, there's no chance Heyman was going to agree to that. And besides, Heyman tells Corino he has already offered the position to somebody else. Corino asks who it is. Heyman just carries on walking, and that's something we're going to try and build some intrigue towards the final show of the year. Who will be Paul Heyman's replacement? In the opener, the American Wolves defeat Jesse Neal and Rhino when Davey Richards makes Jesse Neal tap out to a Kimura. A straightforward, decisive win for them. A 91 from Davey Richards shows that he's another one of them guys, like Hero and AJ Styles, who we can rely on to put in incredible match ratings. I think a big singles match maybe in his future, just to test him out and see whether he can bring those levels of performances to the main event. Neal and Rhino were members of our initial roster, but I've just brought them in on one-night deals because they were available from the local talents screen. After the match, the Briscoes jump the American Wolves from behind, appearing from out of nowhere, completely blindsiding them before laying down the challenge for Final Resolution, the final battle. We got AJ v Punk going down, and Jay Briscoe says that they want the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions versus the TNA World Tag Team Champions to find out who the real best tag team in the world is. So finally pulling the trigger on this. It's something that we've had bubbling under since the Briscoes first arrived on the scene, but now with that big pay-per-view coming up, we pulled the trigger on that. Roderick Strong then is interviewed by SoCal Val, promoting the main event. He's ready to face Shelton Benjamin. He was close to winning the Thanksgiving Battle Royal that was won by Shelton Benjamin, and Benjamin was the one who eliminated him, so a little bit of revenge for Roderick Strong, albeit friendly competition and not bitter rivalry. The second match of the night sees Mickie James given the chance to let out some of her frustrations, and she does just that. A very different Mickie James. Usually she's very fan interactive, very bubbly and happy. She is focused and determined tonight as she defeats Jazz in 8 minutes 1 with a Mickie DT. A decent performance from her, and she stands tall, arm raised but no smiles, not the usual celebrations, and there's a good reason for that. As we well know, she was screwed at Turning Point and has not been able to get her hands on Tara or Christy Hem since that moment. Brooke then calls out Double Kong. In another terrible segment, she's joined by Lindsay Kay, who I haven't yet changed the name of in game but will do after this show. They call out Double Kong. This is a setup. Angeline Love and Velvet Sky are actually in the building tonight, and they lay into Awesome Kong and Adja Kong, with Brooke, Angelina and Velvet then working together to deliver Adja Kong into the ring. Lindsay Kay then crushes the skull. I remember Great Khali doing it, the vice grip around the head, and she manages to make Adja Kong pass out. Awesome Kong, of course, down because of the chair shots, and you'd have to say after 2 months of being absolutely dominated by this duo and the mess up of Brooke from the pay-per-view, finally the beautiful people seem to have got the better of these two. Whether that'll be enough going forward, we will find out. We then go into a Impact reaction type segment, and Desmond Wolfe is asked about the Austin Aries attack during the match, and of course he's pissed off. But again, he's jumped by Austin Aries, this man on a mission to take out all those Team Angle members, and he really isn't going to stop. Any opportunity he gets, including this one, he is going to pounce. The two men are pulled apart, desperate to fight with one another, throwing insults back and forth. Aries again struggling when improvising, which surprises me, but I've noticed that quite a few times, so I was going to say maybe we need to script him, but I'd imagine if I tried to script an Aries segment, I'd get the note that he doesn't like being scripted, then we'd have to deal with his morale, so maybe I just have to deal with losing a couple of points every now and again as we go into a really bad main event, and I'm not really sure why, because these two are really good, and usually I know it says Roderick Strong was off his game. Shelton Benjamin's got low morale apparently, and the announcing isn't very good. So there is quite a few reasons why this didn't go quite so well, but I just thought I could throw these two out and get a 70 rated match as the individual ratings would suggest. Nonetheless, Shelton Benjamin defeats Roderick Strong in 14 minutes 12 with a pay dirt. Maybe the crowd has been burnt out as well after such a good Impact, who knows, but yeah, really disappointed with that. Charlie Haas then joins Shelton Benjamin in the ring following an impressive singles performance, and that's noteworthy because Shelton Benjamin has the opportunity, if he wants to take a singles title shot, although Haas has been trying to encourage him to take the tag title shot. Probably will going forward, likely from the start of 2012, change Evolve to a B show, and then I won't have to worry about these underwhelming matches because, of course, I'd never main event an Impact with Benjamin v Strong, but in terms of how the game sees it, these are two A shows on equal footing. Of course, we know we struck gold with Impact, the best show that we've ever done, and maybe it's just the delight that Paul Heyman is finally getting his comeuppance and leaving the company, but of course a great show with great segments, and that'll only do fantastic things for the likes of the storyline heat and the entire build to this last pay-per-view of the year, which, fingers crossed, I think we're going to get a really good match out of CM Punk and AJ Styles. We complete the new contract. It's a 2-year deal. I think after he lost that year and a half of his career, the least we could do is give him a couple of year contract. D'Angelo De Niro confirmed to be staying with the company, but this has actually reminded me that I've got a few other contract negotiations going on in the background that I'd prefer people didn't see, so I'm going to look at them myself now, but bring an end to the episode here. A historic Impact show, of course. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you will join me again next week.